Are you running ads and maybe you ran into the point where you've had an ad rejected or an ad account banned, or even worse, maybe permanently restricted from advertising on Facebook? Well, in this video, I'm going to share with you the 5 ad policies you need to know about in order to make sure that you do not get accounts restricted, ads banned, or any of that stuff. And I'm going to go over an email that Meta just released, and I'm also going to kind of go in a little bit more detail and explain it. So if you're new here, my name is Justin Saunders, and I've been running ads, especially on Meta, for the last 6 to 7 years. And there was an era where every time you'd put up something, it would essentially get rejected, and everybody thought that it was the end of the Facebook ad era. But you know, things move on, you get smarter, and we go from there. So in this video, I want to share with you some of the knowledge that I've learned from spending millions of dollars on ads and how we run ads successfully without getting ad accounts banned. And hopefully by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what you can do for yourself as well. So the first thing I want to do is go over these 5 ad policies that Meta has. So you can see they just sent out this email kind of going a little bit more detail. And if you open it up in a separate screen, you'll be able to actually look in here and break these down. So the 5 that I want to go over with you are personal health and appearance, unrealistic outcomes, unacceptable business practices, discriminatory practices, and non-functional landing page. And I've had experience with every single one of these, and that's what I want to share with you in this video. So let's just jump right into it. Personal health and appearance. So if we break this down, essentially a lot of this has to do with like dieting, before and after photos, but let's just jump into it. So this says ads must not imply or attempt to generate negative self-perception in order to promote diet, weight loss, or other health-related products. For example, don't use before and after images to display idealized results. And I see this a lot. We work with a lot of fitness coaches, and before I was a coach, I actually used to run an agency, and we used to help with chiropractors that had weight loss plans and things like that. So there's ways to get around this, and that's essentially what I want to share with you in this video. Is the rules are here. It's kind of like the laws where you're paying taxes, right? They're there, but there's ways around them, and the people that are smart understand this, and that's essentially what I want to share with you. So when you're doing weight loss ads or promoting diet, the way that you want to think around this is how can you say specific words that don't get flagged? So instead of saying weight loss, you could say fat reduction, or you could say shred those extra LBs, LB apostrophe S. A lot of this is kind of thinking outside the box, and when you do that, you'll be able to market more efficiently and you get the same point across. Now, the biggest thing is with this is obviously you don't want to use any before and after photos. And if you click on this, it'll give you a little bit more of a breakdown on exactly what you can and can't use, and what you can use essentially. So you can see right here, it says not allowed weight loss ads. Can't use content that may negatively affect people. So you can't use tape measures in your ads. You can't use scales, like anything promoting like, hey, because the thing behind this is Facebook is trying to have a place where in their eyes they can advertise, but it doesn't, negatively affect people. And you would think, if you're doing a before and after photo, it might incentivize people to go to the gym a little bit better, but that's not really the case. So you got to be very particular on what you're staying compliant with. So the other thing, like, look at this. This is even things that aren't weight loss, is like zoomed in of before and after, or zoomed in on wrinkles, apparently isn't even compliant. And if you go up, this one right here says, this image is showing before and after skin. So look at that, light skin, dark skin. You would think it wouldn't be that big of a deal, but that's why you actually have to focus on what's allowed and read these actual processes on here. So there's a lot more that goes into play. I'm going to link all this down below so you guys can actually check it out. But the main things I want to focus on is you also have to make sure clearly you're not going any like sexual routes with like sex toys, any sexual services. That's why OnlyFans can't promote on ads as well. But like there's a whole document where you can read a little bit more. But I essentially want to share with you just some of the ways that you can go around this, especially the unrealistic outcomes. Because if you are a coach, or, for me, to give you context, I have roughly about 750 plus clients right now that all run ads that we've helped with. And the biggest thing that they all run into is unrealistic outcomes. I want to give you some feedback and ideas on here. So let's just break this down first. Ads must not contain promises or suggestions of unrealistic outcomes for health, weight loss, or economic opportunity. For example, do not use claims of cures for incurable diseases, as well as basically saying, hey, I can make you rich overnight. That's another thing that gets flagged with this quite a bit. And if we break this down, again, you guys should definitely check all this out, because I'm not going to read all of this because it's here for you, but there's some that you really need to make sure that you are focused on. So guarantees or promises of employment. If you're saying, hey, we're hiring and we'll guarantee you this, you're going to get flagged. Guarantees of financial gain. So you can't put up an ad saying, hey, I guarantee I'll make you $10,000 in the next 10 days or else you'll get your money back. That would be flagged as unrealistic outcomes. Requirements that a person provides an initial payment or personal financial account information or employment consideration. Note that the requirement of initial application fee is allowed. So this one, you kind of been in the rules a little bit here. Essentially what this is saying is like, you can't, like, if you're going to go the route of asking like credit card claims, that would definitely get flagged here as well too. Because there's kind of like that fine line. You kind of got to play it around a little bit. And I'll give you some ideas that I have and how I get around this a lot here in a second. But misleading business models. Ads promoting income opportunities must fully describe the associated product or business model and must not promote business models offering quick compensation for little investment. So a big thing is MLM opportunities always get flagged. But the way around it is you just transition the word saying, hey, I run an MLM, come work with me. You don't want to say that. You say this new opportunity is helping people quit their 9-to-5 and work for themselves. You have to kind of play the routes a little bit and test the waters to see what you want to say. But we had one guy that was in the solar space and he was recruiting people for solar. Solar recruitment sometimes gets flagged as MLM, but what we did, we just changed it. We said there's a new high ticket solar sales opportunity. Message me or click the link down below for more information. We framed it as new high ticket sales opportunity, specifically in solar. All it was they were just selling solar, but it just, the way you market it's a little bit different, right? Again, unrealistic health claims, you can't do that too. No guarantees that you'll help somebody lose weight, or fixed guarantees for helping them fix an issue, or if they have, like, for example, maybe they have ADD, you can't guarantee that you're going to get rid of their ADD, which it seems like everybody in this world has ADD nowadays. Ads can promote work from home, investments, trading, webinar, or other employment opportunities as long as they give adequate details on the role and contain no unrealistic claims or enticements. So essentially, you just have to be kind of broad, but to the point of what you're promoting. A lot of this, there's a lot of keywords that usually get flagged in here. So like, for example, there's a couple ways around this I want to share with you. Instead of saying, hey, I will help you make $10,000 a month, that would be as a unrealistic claim. The way around that would be, this is how my clients are making $10K a month. There's a couple things I did there. One, I made a statement not saying I can do this for you. I just said, this is what my clients are doing. Notice how that's a big difference. My client made $10K a month with my new trading strategy, whatever it is. The other thing, instead of saying $10,000 a month, that almost immediately gets flagged. What I do is say 10K, and I don't put the dollar sign in, because dollar signs also get flagged sometimes too. Now, if you're saying the price is $400, you can put the dollar sign for that. But when you say my client made, or I am helping my clients make $400, that would get flagged. So the way around is, this is how my clients are making $400 without the dollar, just 400. You see what I'm saying? So there's a lot of little ways with that you really want to keep in mind when it comes to this. But essentially, unrealistic outcomes are just, if you think it sounds too good to be true, it probably is. So you either need to tone it back, or like I said earlier, find that gray line and, kind of like with the IRS, use the rules, but bend them a little bit so it actually is relevant for you. And no, I'm not saying go out there and just completely bend the IRS rules or whatever you got to do. I'm not a financial expert. I'm not a financial coach. Just saying, when you go with the IRS and you pay taxes, there's things like the code where you can get a car and you can write off, 60% of that, 80% of that, whatever it might be. Do your own due diligence when it comes to that, but I do have to put that disclaimer up front. The next is unacceptable business practices. Now, these are ads that must not promote products, services, schemes, or offerings or offers using deceptive or misleading practices, including those meant to scam people out of money or personal information. For example, don't promote products or services that claim to boost Facebook or Instagram likes or follows. This almost immediately always gets flagged when you're trying to say, hey, I'll help you grow your Instagram, anything like that. Again, a way around is this new ad strategy will generate you more followers. See what I'm saying? It's a little bit of a different. This new ad strategy generated my most recent client 4,000 followers in the last 90 days. Now you have to be careful because sometimes when you say X days, sometimes that gets flagged too. So let's go into this a little bit more for you. So ads can't use deceptive or exaggerated claims about the success of a product or service to mislead someone into purchasing or sharing sensitive information. I think that goes without saying. Use the image of a public figure or misleading tactics in order to bait people into engaging with an ad. So if you take a photo of, if you have, let's say you're walking around and you see Drake walking around. You're like, yo, Drake, can I get a photo with you? He's like, yeah. You take a selfie with him and then you start using that as an ad. That could get flagged as this unacceptable business practice, right? Will it? It's probably a 50-50 chance, but that's basically what they're saying here is with public figures, you can't use them to promote your ads for the most part. Now, there's definitely some out there where you can see people like that people like chop up clips of other people, like of Mark Cuban or Joe Rogan saying something, they run an ad. That's technically, unless it's approved, that's illegal for the most part. Promise financial benefits by misrepresenting an entity, industry association, or news outlet to mislead people or ask them to share. So this is basically saying you can't like try to do something sketchy to get people's information, right? So you can't say like, hey, enter this contest to win a trip to Bali. All you have to do is just put in all of your information of your name, email, phone number, credit card score, social security number. People try to do that actually, believe it or not, but you can't do that for the most part. Now, we often see these types of violations and schemes related to investments or banking opportunities, health or weight loss, background checks. Again, background checks where it kind of goes into visas or lotteries where like you trying to get too much information that you can't, charity. I think the rest are pretty self-explanatory here. Again, you guys can check out all this if you'd like. I'm just going over what it's reading and then the examples that I've had with it. Discriminatory practices. Ads must not discriminate against people based on personal attributes such as race, ethnicity, color, national origin, religion, age, sex, sexual orientation, gender identification, family status, disability, medical or genetic condition. There's a lot there, and there's a lot that you can get flagged, and I've been flagged with this, but that just doesn't make sense sometimes. For example, don't promote housing or employment opportunities based on personal attribution. So that's saying like, if you put up an ad saying, hey, are you a Mexican lady looking to become a maid and work X amount of hours? That would be discriminatory, right? Because you're calling out that one type of person. Now, there's ways around this. I'll explain it here in a second, but I want to open this up a little bit more to see if they give any examples on here, which naturally they don't. They basically say they prohibit using ad products to discriminate people. This means that advertisers may not use our audience selection tool or wrongfully target a specific group of people, wrongfully exclude certain amount of people, discriminate. These include laws that prohibit discriminating against people or a connection, for example, offer housing. So it's basically like you got to be, a lot of this kind of comes down to they have the special ads category, which is like housing, employment, and credit. which usually if you get a discriminatory mark, usually you just kind of want to go and file for a special ads category. I've done that before. It doesn't hinder the success. The only thing is your targeting is just less with it, which sometimes isn't a bad thing. But essentially that's what it's saying right here is like, you can't, like, for example, if you're saying housing opportunities, you can't say, hey, white people, you can only move into this house, right? So sometimes this gets flagged a little bit when we're more specific on our personal calling out. So like, for example, if you're a fitness coach, say like, moms, learn how to shred that extra baby fat that you just got or something, that extra baby LBs that you just got, right? That would be a very specific demographic that you'd be calling out, but it shouldn't get, and it should not get flagged by discriminatory practices because you're not discriminating anybody, right? But if you are, like, that's how they kind of get you on here, because if you're very specific, sometimes they could say, oh, well, you're excluding these type of people, right? So maybe if you're just calling out an ad saying Latinas, this is this, that might get flagged for this. So you got to be a little bit more careful with it and find out, where we're at in the world. You got to pay attention to the news. Unfortunately, is like, for example, if you call out just like the LGBTQ, whatever community it is now, if you just call out that community, you might be discriminating against single people or just other women. Again, I'm not on any side on this. So if whatever side you're on this, it is what it is. Don't get upset with me or anything. It's just, that's just how these algorithms work. A lot of times they get up to date with what's going on in the society and what is big problems happening right now, right? Like, look at what's protesting. Look at where people are running into issues, right? That is essentially what you need to make sure you're not discriminating against. That's kind of like the simplest terms I can put it. It's a little bit harder, but usually if you are discriminating against someone, it's something where you can just file a special ads category and you usually get past it. Now, the last one I want to cover is non-functioning landing page, and then I want to cover the idea of submitting your ads for review, because that is something that they also recommend sometimes too. So this says for non-functional landing page, and this is going to be really good for you, especially if you're running ads to any sort of page. Ads must not direct people to non-functional destinations. This includes landing pages that have content that interferes with the person's ability to navigate away from the page. For example, don't direct people to a landing page that triggers an automatic download of a file. So you can't just run an ad for someone to go to a page and then something automatically gets downloaded. A lot of times that would just be spam anyways. And then naturally they say this page isn't available. Luckily, I have a lot of context on this that I can share with you. So the thing you got to realize with this, let me see if I can pull this up and get some drawing on board. So the way this works is basically you run an ad, right? And if you run an ad to a landing page, well, what's going to happen is on this landing page right here, let's just say this is your page. You have your title, you have some words, yada, yada, yada. You might have a video. What's going to happen is Meta is going to come through here and they are going to scan everything on your page. They're even going to watch some of your video. Their AI is going to watch some of your video to make sure, is it compliant with their other policies over here? Meaning all those other policies that we just discussed over here, is your landing page actually going to be abiding by these policies? And if not, then you will get your ad rejected. A lot of times I see people actually get their ad rejected when there's nothing wrong with their ad, but it's on their landing page. So you got to make sure what you say on there is actually relevant and up to date with their policy too. Because if you put on your ad, watch this video and learn how to make $10,000 a month on repeat without working more than 1 hour a day, that's going to get flagged as unrealistic claims, but your ad will get flagged, not your landing page. And this is a big mistake that I see a lot of people make. So the next thing I want to cover with you is right here where they're promoting, it only takes 10 seconds to appeal an ad rejection. If you believe your ad was rejected incorrectly, you can request another review. Now, here's the thing that you really need to know when it comes to ad rejections and why I very rarely do them and what you should do when you get an ad rejected. The first thing I do is when I get an ad rejected, I go back and I figure out why. Why was this ad rejected? And then if I can figure out why it was rejected, essentially what I'll do from there is if I think it was wrongfully rejected, which most of the time, 50% of the time it is, but the other 50% of the 50% of the time, I just end up deleting it. Most of the time, if an ad gets rejected, I just delete it right away. Because if you delete it, it gets out of their back-end system, and instead of saying you have one ad rejected, it'll say 0. Because if you have 10 ads rejected and you try to publish another one, well, you are at risk of getting your account completely disabled, right? And you don't want that. So get in the habit of when things get rejected, usually I just delete them. The other thing you can do is request a review. Now, if you request a review on 10 ads that are rejected and then all 10 of those get rejected again, you're going to be in deep doo-doo, to say the least, because Meta's AI is going to be like, this guy, this girl clearly doesn't know what they're doing. They're just going to keep submitting it for us to check it out. We're just going to reject everything moving forward, because they're basically like strikes on your account. The more you get, the more strikes you get, the more trouble you get in, basically. It's kind of like, you know, when I was in high school, perfect example. I went to a Catholic school. I wasn't allowed to chew gum. My shirt always had to be tucked in. So every time I was chewing gum, I would get a strike. Every time my shirt was out, I would get a strike. Once you get 3 strikes, you get detention. I ended up getting detention quite a bit just from dumb stuff like that, to be honest with you. But the point being is that's how Meta works with this too. They will put you in detention. But the thing is, with their detention, usually it does not require, it's not something, it's just like detention. It's not fun, but it's also, you get in more trouble the more you do it. So what I'd recommend, if you are getting ads rejected, a couple things. One, figure out why they're getting rejected. Don't make the same mistake again. Number 2, delete the ad. And then number 3, if you're like, dude, this is 100% like I abide by their policy, yada, 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 then submit it for an appeal. Now, the last piece of advice I want to give you, and something that always gets flagged, I see it over and over, is if you use screenshots of a Stripe account or a PayPal account, those will always get flagged. Now, it's a 50-50 chance. 50% of the time you'll get approved, 50% of the time you won't. But if you do get approved, it will get flagged and shut down at some point in the future. It could be a week, it could be a month, it could be a year. Point being is, it's not a sustainable way to grow. And that's essentially what I want to share with you in this video, is a sustainable way to run ads. Because a lot of times people can get ads up and running and they make some money, but they can't keep them running for a while. And that's why I've been doing this for 6 or 7 years, because there's loopholes to understanding this. And the people that get it, they simply just read what I'm sharing with you right here. There's a reason I'm coming on here and I'm showing you essentially like the email that I just got, because I actually read this stuff, right? So you actually want to come through here and read and study the algorithm. If you do that enough times, you're going to get caught up to date and you'll become an ads pro when it comes to doing this. So hopefully this video was helpful. If you'd like some more information, you'd like to see my ad strategy, click the link down below. There will be a video tagged down on how we're using this triple threat ad strategy to scale our ads this year. So check it out, and I'll see you in the next one.